Some people buy art because it appeals to their sensibilities, while others consider it an investment. When buying art as a newlywed couple, it can be even more difficult than marrying your furniture. You may love a piece while your husband may hate it. We're here in Blanc Gallery in Katipunan Avenue to talk to creative consultant Miguel Rosales, who can help us with this task at hand. Okay, so thank you so much for being here with us today. And basically, I'm gonna ask you just some advice. Okay, for newlyweds who want to purchase art for the first time as a couple, let's say a piece for their bedroom or something, what kind of advice can you give them?
Well, I think I'd start by telling them to sort of get to know each other's tastes and find out what each other likes and maybe find a common ground.
Yeah, because it's so personal, right? You could have, I know with my husband, some pieces I love and then he hates, right?
I think getting to know each other's taste is very important. I think that by going around together and exploring different shows or galleries or artist studios even, they may find a common ground that will help them come up with a collection that they both like.
And what about thinking of the space itself? Like, does that really come into play?
Yeah, definitely. If you're living in a smaller space, it dictates also the size of works you can put in there or the number of works. I think that where you're going to place art is very important. The lighting, everything is considered when hanging art as well.
Colors, interior.
Although I don't tend to suggest to match your artwork to your interior.
Where can these newlyweds go to, what galleries, what art shows are there that are available?
Well, there's a lot of different venues for them to explore. There are the art fairs. Philippines has a couple of art fairs now, and there's also Art in the Park, which is a very interesting thing for young couples to start collecting. There's also many galleries now that offer shows. Every week almost there's a show opening.
We are talking about collecting, so now we're thinking of art as, like you said, not decorative but more of an investment. What about price range?
I think it pays to look around and shop around and really buy what you like. I think number one rule in collecting is really buy with your eyes and not with your ears. Okay. A lot of people tend to buy art nowadays as an investment, but I'm kind of cautious about suggesting that unless you really do your research, because you may never realize your investment.
That's true, because at the end of the day, you buy something because it speaks to you.
There has to be an emotional sort of like response when you view the artwork. You should really be happy with it, number one. Every day you wake up to it, you should be really happy with your art. I think if it makes you happy, then it's worth it.
So if art makes you happy, it doesn't matter where it comes from. What about these, sort of department store art?
I think if it makes you happy, go for it. I think some pieces can be great grouped together. I think the value of a work is not necessarily just in what you pay for it. If it really truly makes you happy, then use it.
I think ultimately the price of the artwork is what you give it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like if it means something to you,
Yes.
and like if you have kids, that scribble might be worth more than a mananzalo in your house because that's your
true.
child's first
Yeah,
artwork,
that's true.
right?
Most people are worried about paper. Of course, our climate isn't the most conducive to works on paper, but I think for me, like drawing, for example, has a great appeal to me, collecting drawings, because it's the first sort of transference from the artist's head into his hands onto that piece of paper. Also sculptures. There's a lot of young artists. Yeah.
Yes. And when you find a nice sculpture, I think in the right spot in your home,
Yeah.
it can really liven up a space.
Correct. It brings it to another dimension. Literally, it's a 3D sort of thing.
Yeah.
You can walk around most pieces. There's some pieces for the walls, which in place of paintings could be fantastic. There could be
Yes.
wall reliefs you can combine with paintings.
Hangings too?
Yeah, hangings. There's a lot of artists now experimenting with, some are doing mobiles, some are doing just hanging pieces, some are doing woven pieces even. There's a lot of stuff out there if you just go around and look around.
Let's go a little bit into the design aspect and putting it together. Some people have it in their head, if you have an apartment, the furniture has to be contemporary, then your art has to be contemporary. It all has to be matchy. I am so against that.
Same
what,
here.
what do you think? You have any tips of how to put things together?
One can design a great room around a great work of art. You do have to look at proportion and how it works with that room. There's a lot of considerations, but it's not necessarily, it's not a steadfast rule that if it's a modern house, you're gonna have to have modern art in it. I think some of the best rooms that I've ever seen are juxtapositions of traditional and contemporary art and furnishings and accessories in a room. It gives a story, makes it more dynamic, it makes it more now.
We can discern that there are two ways to acquire art. One is really for your home and for personal, and then one is collecting. Let's say if you wanted to make that transition as an art consultant, maybe 3 tips for a young couple who want to really start a collection, you know.
I would go back to say, buy with your eyes and not your ears. Buy what you like. Research on the artist and his works. And, I think really go around and experience the scene and learn more and more about the things that you like and about, personally, what your tastes are. They could evolve. So I think that's the fun part, is actually going around and learning about your taste and how it's changing. Sometimes it could completely do a turnaround.
Well, I definitely learned a lot today, and I think what I learned is that I have to prepare myself to let go of some of my stuff.
Oh, trust me, your future husband will also have to let go of some of his stuff, because they say happy wife is a happy life.
I love that.
And you know what they say, you'll be needing more space, because honestly, 1 + 1 actually makes 3.
And I hope when the time comes for me that I'm as blooming as you, Steph.
Oh my God, I have no doubt that
Super.
you will be.
Super blooming. Well, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next week as we explore the metro
From living spaces
to living life beyond its confines. This is your ultimate guide to modern living.